In the ever-advancing world of technology, AI, biometrics, and human emotional advancement, these two idiots don't have a clue. Welcome to the Life Lessons from Two Neanderthals podcast. I hope you can stand it.
All right, we have no clue if anybody can hear us because we are having major audio problems. Let me know if you can hear anything or not. Let's see.
Or you may have to hire a lip reader to figure out what exactly we're saying.
Oh. Go. All right, so that's working. All right, just hold on. It could just be that.
These two idiots don't have a clue. Welcome to the Life Lessons
Oh, that's great.
podcast. I hope you can stand it.
All right, we have no clue if anybody can hear us because we are having major. So we have an echo.
Yeah.
So let me just try this. All right, let me just turn off the desktop audio and see if that. All right, let's see if that does anything real quick. All right, so that's working. All right, so hold on. It could just be that. So we have an echo. So let me just try this. All right, let me just turn off the desktop audio. Yep. Hear it? And see if.
Yeah.
No echo. Okay. All right, that sounds good. Let's do let's do this one. We'll pull the live chat out. Here we go. Pop out chat. I wonder if that's the same. Is that the same thing? No, it's not the same thing, is it? 5501. All right, we're good. Shut up. So, all right, guys. We're just getting in here, and you can see the video is kind of off. It's got a shitty camera. We're just. Yeah, no, it's different. It must be different every time. Okay. Paste. Apply, close. Oh, we got to sign in too. Damn, bruh.
Lord have mercy.
I know. For criminy sakes. It's our damn chat. How come the damn thing ain't working?
Yeah.
And why do we got to sign into our own chat?
That's right.
Rat bash sons of bitches.
That's what you should make your password. Sons of bitches.
Sons of bitches. All right, hold on 1 second. We're just cluing in. Oh, there we go.
Yay.
All right. Well, we got chat going. All right. Anyway, well, thanks for joining us for this effing debacle of a show. Yeah, don't worry about the camera shit. We're gonna get that fixed. I'm gonna get a different camera. We're having problems with our other one.
It looks like I have a on my head.
Do you?
Yeah, that's okay.
It's like the lighting too.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, my head's polished.
It's
good.
like I don't know what's let me just see if I can pull this shit back a little bit.
That's okay.
No, I don't want you going around looking like a.
At least my hair's cut. Well, my stubble's cut down. Yeah, that's better.
Is that better?
Yeah.
There we go.
All right.
We got these Hollywood lights over here going.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still a little bit, but
Yeah. It is what it is.
it is what it is. We'll fix it.
We'll fix it.
It's because the camera's shitty.
That's all right.
But anyway, welcome again. That was like dark.
I know. Two Neanderthals. Yes, we're being filmed in a cave right now. It's all good.
It's all good.
Oh, good.
So what we want to discuss today is what drives men to success, or what is success for men? What do other people look as success? Maybe how the world views men as successful or not.
That is true, and how men view men as successful.
That too. I just want to see if I want to make sure that we got shit going here. Just double checking. All right, we're good.
All right.
Just want to double check.
So, the thing of it is that you look at some people, and they're very, what you would consider successful. Maybe they're, billionaires or drive a nice car, that type of thing. So it all depends on, what your definition of success is. And then you have other people that, are just like down and out and just plain don't care. So I guess the biggest thing to start is, and again, this could be a list that could go on for, God, we could have a show on this for like 6 hours just on define success.
Seriously.
So, Gary, what are some of the things that you look at as like, what is success? What would your personal definition be of success?
My personal?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of money, not like a billionaire, right? But enough to be comfortable to where you can provide for your family.
Right.
And, like for instance, like we paying for our kids' college.
Right.
That's something I'm really big about. Now, some people, are like, okay, well, they got to earn their own way and whatever. And that's all fine and good. The way I was raised, well, with my parents being, scumbags, whatever, that was something I, said that I would do. So having a little bit of that, not a lot, just being comfortable to where you can do what you need to when you need to. To me, it's having a good family around you, good friends, because again, that money only goes so far. Even if I was rich, I mean, how many of these, like for instance, if you take like Steve Jobs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Dude had money out the ass. He was brilliant in what he did, but you ask any of his family, he said he was a freaking asshole.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't want anything to do. They realistically didn't want anything to do with him hardly. And okay, so what's the success? Is it the fact that you're leaving a legacy as far as Apple's concerned, but at the end of the day, once a new CEO drops in, I mean, are you okay? You might be brought up here and there,
Sure.
right? Your family's not going to talk about you. Apple's not really going to talk. They might reference you here and there, but they're going to move on.
Right.
But so if you have nothing, I guess to me, being successful is having some kind of a legacy. And to me, a legacy is something that people remember, people treasure, that kind of stuff. Not
Okay.
that just, okay, yeah, Steve Jobs, he kind of invented Apple. He was a rich guy, this, that, and the other, but he was a freaking douche. And then nobody else gives a shit.
Right. So it's almost like in that case with Steve Jobs, going with what you're saying here is the fact that it's a balancing act. Like, maybe success and having lots of money was his thing. That was his goal. But you got your goal. Well, you got your goal, but yet you don't have everything else.
Yeah.
Because you see these big time guys, sports guys, and things like that. That when the money's good, man, they're all there.
Yep.
You got friends. Everybody's looking out for you. They want to hang out. But as soon as something happens and you lose that money,
I mean, you look at and it's kind of a joke as it goes around, but look at MC Hammer.
Yeah.
Remember back in MC Hammer in the 80s, man, was rich as shit. Now, he was a nice guy, and he had all these people come out of the freaking woodwork, and they wanted money and stuff, and he was successful. But unfortunately, everybody just kind of scabbed off of him, and then he
just went away.
And he was I would say poor, but he definitely didn't have anything close to what he had. So that's kind of my thing is that to me having to me success is having a faith that you can a deep faith, because so many people no matter whether it's money or situations in life, a lot of them can't handle it.
Right.
So it's just like, and then they kind of crumble.
Right.
And you look at a lot. I mean, not to be an asshole, but look at a lot of the like movie stars. Look at a lot of the musician stuff. They all got serious freaking problems. I'll just go one more thing. Remember, like, I'm not a huge Metallica fan, but you watch Metallica, and you had that series or that documentary they did on them,
Right.
where they were having like, well, first I kind of thought they were a little bit kind of prima donnas, but you saw where they were having all these inner conflicts and stuff, and some of it was just like petty little bullshit.
Right.
It's like, bruh, fucking get over yourself.
Right.
You guys are like, as they one of the probably people recognize as one of the greatest bands, probably one of the most influential, and probably one of the most affluent.
Right.
They got money coming out their ass, but you're squabbling about little petty ass little bullshit. And it's like, what are you, like 5?
Right.
So I mean, to me, success. Yeah, I'll just say like you said, it's a balancing act, and too much of one side of that just leads to chaos. If you're not balancing grounded, and it's not kind of at least somewhat even across the board,
Right.
then you end up just. I mean, look how many of these movie stars and rock stars end up just as, whatever.
So,
how about you?
Well, I used to think like, success was having the big house and the hot wife and, the nice cars and that type of thing. But the older that I've gotten, it's just like, no. I always try to compare myself to other people, and the fact of the matter is like, their success isn't my success. I'm not rich by any means, but I'm happy.
Yep.
And that, to me, happiness would be my definition of success. So laying out the definition of success, there's many different forms, obviously, that take place as far as what your personal definition of success is. A lot of times, like I said, it was comparison. Hey, my neighbors have a nicer yard, so I'm going to go out and get a nicer yard. I want a pool. My neighbor just got a above ground pool, so I'm going to go out and get a in-ground pool, that type of shit. Business, maybe success is having your own business. Family would be one. Money, obviously, is probably going to be the biggest one. And then friends, but I don't know if that would be at the top of anybody's list. Like if I went out and went to a high school with the graduates and say, hey, what's the most important thing for you right now in this moment? Or in the future, I don't think friends. Yeah, I think it would be more like money.
Right. But then you get into people's definitions of friends.
Right.
Like my definition of friend is not what a lot of people think. Like they think, hey, I got 200 people that follow, that whatever on Facebook. That's my friend. No. I have a very, 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 very tight circle.
Amen to that.
Because I just can't deal with all the drama of other people. Yeah. But again, that to me is not success. It's, now if you have, which I doubt that you can manage that. I don't think anybody can. Where you consider really good friends.
Right.
To even have friends is like a marriage. It still takes work, even with friends.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people just think, excuse me, oh, that's my friend. No, we're friends, and this is friend, and like,
right. Yeah, there's a difference between an acquaintance and a friend.
That is true. So that's kind of also true. True is like what people's definition within those categories, how they define certain things within there, like money.
Right.
Like how much money is enough. Right. If I'm comfortable enough, maybe think I'm successful. If I have like a cheaper home, but like I've seen like people that have like maybe a smaller home, but they have a big old motor home or trailer, and they go travel and they go and then to them that's success, because I'm able to do that.
Right.
I don't need the big house because I have a big truck and then the trailer, and then I go camp and we go every weekend or whatever else. So then again, that's some people's success. It's even definitions within each of those categories.
Sure. And it's funny that you mentioned that when you said money. You almost have to wonder, is how much is too much? You know, I mean, like the first thing is you set a goal.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have $1 million like in a savings account.
Yeah.
So you go out and you bust your ass and you hit that $1 million, and then it's just like, well, shit. I want 2 million.
Mm-hmm.
I want 3 million. You know, when is that happy spot?
Right.
But
And what sacrifices did you make? And maybe you didn't do a lot, or maybe you didn't make a lot of sacrifices. Could be.
sure,
But what sacrifices did you make to earn that million?
right,
You know, did you not you know, say maybe you had a chance to start a family, and you decided I don't want to do that because I
Right.
want to make my million. So it's like it right takes you back to like what's his name, Stevie Nicks,
Mhm.
right? So they interviewed Stevie Nicks. You know, she's never been married. I don't think she's ever been married. She definitely has never had kids, and she said that was a conscious decision that she said, I want to be successful and I want to concentrate on the music and the success of that.
right,
And I made a choice not to get married and or not to have kids.
right.
Now she apparently has a niece that she really loves and she kind of dotes on her. But
Sure.
see, so her success was I want to be, and whatever that aspect was of like, you know, what success in the business is or was to her. But she
did
made
it.
the sacrifice, or she made the decision. I'm not
Yeah.
going to do that.
And she
Like
did it.
kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
That's a good point.
it's kind of crazy. Because then you also go back to me to like say Bill Gates, another nerd, but made a shitload of money, this, that, and the other. Then he started on this, this kind of philanthropy stuff. And then you kind of look, you know, without getting into politics, then you see, well, the philanthropy is kind of like almost like he was trying to kind of control certain
Yeah,
things.
you
and
can
it's like,
buy your way in.
yeah. And so it's then again, like, you know, is he successful?
Right, right.
Maybe he is. I wouldn't want his life. I mean, I know
Shit,
he's
no.
rich as shit, but I wouldn't
No.
want it.
No. Well, you know, the thing of it is I forget it was a rap song. Mo money, mo problems.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing is, you know, average people every single day have issues. We have
Yep.
issues, and
Oh, that was P. Diddy, so he's having a lot of issues.
yeah,
right
he's
now.
got a lot of issues right now. Got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one.
Yeah.
So,
Oh shit!
yeah, I mean that's you know,
Ooh.
it's crazy. I don't know where the hell that came
Oh,
from.
shit.
Actually, 99 problems, but 99 problems, but baby oil ain't one. How many bottles did they find? Like 750 bottles. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was a.
Supplied CVS. That's where they were buying it all.
Oh
right.
Lord!
Sorry, went off topic. So, all right. So,
Maybe I ought to do something. Maybe I ought to do a show on that.
oh my God.
Like who, and not so much in all the shit that he did. We could go. We don't have to get into all that, but we can glance over. But like, I would almost like to have that conversation just as far as all the people that were maybe not necessarily involved,
Right.
but that who knew or
Right.
that who were, you know. And this anyway. This is another topic, but I mean that list goes from, you know, whoever all the way to Oprah
Right.
and shit. So I don't know. Maybe
Right.
we'll think about that.
But then again, I mean, talking about success is he wanted a record label, so he got one.
You did.
You know, he busted his ass, but now we kind of see what happened behind the scenes. So again, it's that balancing act. You
Yeah.
wanted this, but this is what you got.
And crazy talking about just family real quick. I don't know if you've, and again, I'm not getting political. I'm just saying that it's because it's high visibility. If you've seen like the report or like stuff they're going on about the Obamas,
Oh yeah,
about where that looks like that's getting ready to go Splitsville.
right.
And like, you know, they're talking about how they've been monitoring them. You know, they haven't been in public, and when they see them in public, it's not like you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they have success now, right? I mean, they came in up whatever,
right.
and they weren't worth shit as far as money. All of a sudden, come out of the president, he's worth what, $116 million.
Right. Not bad for when you get paid $1 million a year.
Yeah, he sure as hell wasn't in office for 116 years.
No,
Just saying.
just
Anyway.
saying. All right. So the next question is, and we're talking about men. So what does it take for men to succeed? So, you know, we talk about sacrifice with the family and things like that. So what do you think? What are some of the things that men need to do to be successful.
Well, I guess it depends on who you talk about.
That is true too.
Or who you talk to, because a lot of times, men are based on success, or even just being a man, on what they can contribute.
Right.
Now, I saw a stand up with Chris Rock, and Chris Rock said he said children, women, and dogs are loved unconditionally.
Right.
He said that a man is only loved by the condition that he provides something. And I was like, oh shit, that's deep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's deep. So I guess in other people's terms, I guess it depends on what he can contribute. Now, to me, I guess what I would consider success is if he's able to either manage people or deal with people in a respectful way, where people are drawn to him and want to have that what do you call it? That
magnetism.
Just magnetism. Like, the people are drawn to listen to him and follow, or not necessarily follow like blindly, but kind of follow his direction.
Sure.
Because he does provide a respectful, interaction. Like, he's not like, hey, you go do that, whatever.
Right.
Or whatever. So I think respect, or respect both ways. People respect for him, for that person, and his respect for others.
Right.
I think respect is a huge one. I think ability is another one.
Okay.
One of my big pet peeves is where I work, there's a lot of quote unquote managers, and they couldn't manage a freaking lemonade stand. They suck. So I think it's having, and that is in whatever business or whatever you're in, is having the ability, the aptitude, or whatever, to do what needs to be done, and still do it in a way that you're, I don't know, respectful, or you're what I would consider successful with the people around you. Right.
Okay.
Because to me, success is that the whole group gets there, not just one individual.
Gotcha.
That to me is success. Is like, like say a project. You're doing a project of work or whatever it may be, and let's say there's 4 or 5, or could be 20 people that's on this project, but that whole project is successful, and that means everybody here has contributed, and everybody has contributed to the success, and that is to me successful when you bring everyone with you, and that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, that's me. To me, real quick. So to me, a person that I consider extremely successful, and they can say, well, yeah, because look at his position, was like Ronald Reagan. All right. Now, granted, he's president, so that's pretty successful, whatever. But the point is with Ronald Reagan knew he wasn't the smartest man in the world, but he surrounded himself with people that he knew were experts on this or that, or foreign policy or whatever it is. And now he had the street smarts and the ability to assess everything, or to take those parts from each of the people that he surrounded him with, and be able to put it together to successful presidency, or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
So so that to me is like something where you can utilize people, not manipulate, but utilize people in a way to where you're all successful,
right,
or whatever.
Right.
So
yeah, that was one of the things I put down was surrounding yourself with the right people. With that being said, you have to know yourself. We got some LVT that we were laying down in our entryway. And, you watch all the videos. My wife, of course, was like, oh, we can do this. I'm like, all right. So I watch a video, and I'm like, all right, let's do this. Well, I lost a whole day and didn't do shit. So I turned to my wife, and I'm like, hey, how much were they going to charge to put this in? It was like $75.
Oh, shit.
I'm like, what the hell? Just pay it and get it done. I mean, it was cheap. It may have been more than that, but still. So I knew that wasn't in my wheelhouse, right? But I wanted to see how these guys do it. Well, they're professionals. This is what they do every single day. They were out of there in 2 hours. I lost a whole day, and they were out of there in 2 hours. And the way that they did this was completely opposite of what the video showed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, you want to talk about surrounding yourself with the right people. If you know, hey, this isn't in my wheelhouse, I'm going to get somebody that can do that.
So let me ask you this.
What's that?
So I believe, and I'm getting your take on it, I believe that a lot of people have a problem surrounding themselves by the right people because they have a problem maybe admitting that they don't know certain things.
Sure.
What do you think about that one?
No, I agree. I mean, the thing of it is like you have a lot of people that'll, say for work, for instance, hey, do you know how to make a spreadsheet? Yeah, I got this. No, I don't know how to make a spreadsheet. Could you show me how to do that?
Right.
And that's the thing is a lot of people are afraid to say no. It's human nature. And on the opposite side of that is a lot of people look at a failure as like asking for help. If I ask for help, especially men, if I ask for help, I'm a loser.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not respectable. But that boils down to knowing yourself.
Yep.
Sometimes you gotta get rid of that ego for a minute or two, and you gotta make it happen. Devotion is one of the things I came up with. Is the devotion as far as okay, this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my plan, and we're gonna do this. Not just saying, hey, you know what I want to do? I want to have like a ghost hunters podcast. Right? And well, how are you going to go about doing it? Well, I'm going to do my research. Okay.
All right.
So
So let me ask you this question. Devotion and setting up a plan, this and that. Why do you think, because I think there's some people that somewhat do that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Why do you think people fail, or so many people fail, even when they do that? Or I say try to do that. Let me put it that way.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing of it is it's a half-assed attempt. You know what I mean? So yeah, at that moment, you have that focus. This is what I want to do. It's a great idea, right? We all come up with great ideas, but then what do you do with it? It's not like if you sit there and ponder over it for the next 8 hours that, oh shit, look, it just happened. That's the greatest thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
But you have to have that focus in order to make it happen. Because a lot of times, which we know, is there's a lot of ideas that are thrown around, and then it's like, okay, we're going to give this person the ball.
Yeah.
And that's it. So I think that's a lot of it there is the fact that the intention is good, but the follow through is like,
execution's always the problem.
Absolutely.
It ever is. It's like, people come to me and they have problems and stuff. And I said, well, if you're going to come to me with a problem, you better at least come have a solution.
Absolutely.
Or at least have a direction. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now you may not have solved it all because maybe you don't know enough about it, and I'm okay with that. Right. But if there's a problem, at least have a direction.
Absolutely.
Say, hey, we can't do this because of this. Okay. So what would be your solution? They may not be able to solve all that, but say, well, I think if we go and we do this, that might get us around, or it might get us whatever. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, cool. Let's look at that and let's see what we can do to get to that or to do that.
Right.
But I think one of my big things, as far as why I see problems with execution, are priorities and time management. Two big things. And if anybody out there takes this as advice about that, time management and priorities is what you have to get done if you want to be successful. As far as having a project or a direction or an idea, is set what's the highest priority that needs to get done, right? And then schedule time.
Right.
Right. And if you're dedicated to it, okay, tonight I got to work a little bit, on this. I might lose an hour of sleep to get it done. Then you fucking lose that hour of sleep.
Right.
You make it up for it, like maybe take a nap, something, whatever. But you know what? You get the shit done.
Right.
And that's what I have. People that aggravate me is like, well, I'll kind of put it off. I'll take care of it tomorrow. And all of a sudden tomorrow comes. Then all of a sudden, oh, now I got all this other shit kind of flying at me, and I didn't have time to do it. And before you know it, boom.
Right.
But you'll find out more than likely when people who don't get stuff done and you talk to them, you'll find out that, yeah, they kind of did this or that. They got distracted.
Right.
They got distracted, and I was ended up doing this, and I did this the rest of the night. Well, then that tells me that the priority that you, this idea or this project or whatever it is that you did is not a priority to you. It's
Right.
not that important to you. Otherwise, you get distracted. It's like, oh shit, I gotta do this.
Right.
Whatever. And you would think that if that's something you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
that would be what would occupy your mind, and that's what you want to do. So that, and I'm not saying that in a derogatory manner. What I'm saying is, if you're constantly pulled off or you're constantly distracted, then possibly or maybe this thing isn't as important to you as you think it was.
Well, on the other side of that too is the fact that psychologically, if there are things that we don't want to do, we put them off.
That's true.
And like I go back to school and I look at we got a book report.
Yep.
All right. I got a month. And it's
I've been there.
And it's like I'll do my math homework, I'll do this, I'll do that. You have a book report that's due in a month. And you just put it off and put it off and put it off because you don't want to do it. Mentally, it's like, yeah, I know I got to get it done, but I just don't feel like doing it. So human nature is that let's just keep putting it off and putting it off, and eventually, and just like you said, then it's like, well, shit, it's due tomorrow.
Ah, shit, I had time. I didn't do it.
You want to talk about losing sleep. Yeah. But I think, a lot of things too with going with those ideas and the focus and things like that we're talking about is the fact that, again, psychologically, we do things that we want to do,
Right.
And
well, hopefully you align their idea or something that you want to do along with the things that you like to
Right.
do.
Well,
hopefully.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing too. Like one of the things I have is drive and focus. You have to be focused on the project, like in your case, the project. And if everybody, just like we were saying, where when I was like, yeah, I can lay that flooring, and come to find out I couldn't. Everybody has to want the same goal.
Yep.
So especially like with a particular project or something like that, it's like golf. When I play golf, it's not me against you, it's me against myself. So I don't have anybody to blame. If you go out and you have the greatest game of your life, well, just because you played a great game doesn't mean mine sucked.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing is a lot of people lose focus and they lose that drive. Again, it's a great idea, but you got to have focus on it. Yeah, there's going to be shit that is going to be hard to overcome. But if you want to make this idea a live being, you got to get over that.
I think part of being successful is also being realistic.
Absolutely.
Having goals, the dreams are not goals.
Right.
Where some people they kind of put those two in the same bucket.
Right.
A goal is something that can be a goal is something that's attainable.
Right.
Right. And maybe they just don't. Maybe they have goals, but they don't vet them correctly and say, okay, look, I can't get to this goal until I do this, right? And this is the thing I do not want to do.
Right.
However, I got to do it to be able to get to that next level.
Right.
Now, that's where like devotion or the drive and the focus come in.
Right.
Okay, I don't want to do this shit, but if I could go ahead and do it and get it over with,
right.
that sets me up to this next rung or this next level. And then, it's starting to get to where this is the stuff I really enjoy.
Right.
But I got to do the dirty work first.
Right. Yeah. And, again, the human mind, our brains are wired that way. And it's easy, it's easy just to say, nah, I'm whatever. I'm not doing this. It's stupid. But yeah, I agree with you by, okay, so yeah, I want to make $1 million. Boom. Here's my goal right here.
Yeah.
But you're not going to make $1 million. Let's just face it. But first you got to hit 25,000. Then you make 50. Then you go to 100. You make those little steps in order to get to that main goal.
Right.
But a lot of people, I think, with the lack of focus and a plan, it's just like, I'm going to make $1 million.
Yep.
And
all right. Off you go.
Yep.
But I think sometimes when people, here's my thing. I think to me, one of the big things of success, what do you call it? The values or whatever you call it, the success is assessment. You have to assess, because I've known, even me, I've gone say, okay, I'm going to do this, right? And I'd say it was a long-term goal. When I say long-term, it wasn't like something that's going to be done in a couple weeks, right? It was like maybe a couple years. But then as you go, you constantly need to assess, right? And then I got to a certain point, maybe halfway, and this is not failure, right? So then I got to halfway and said, is that really that? Is that right there really that important? Because life has changed,
Right.
Right now, it doesn't mean that I'm not doing anything now just because life kind of sucks or life's giving me a bad hand or whatever. But what it does mean is, like, when you get to this point, or maybe you get halfway and you assess it, it's like, maybe this isn't as important as I thought it was.
Right.
Like when you talked about what you thought initially what success was. Well, with my dad being the asshole his big thing was the house, getting a car, not so much in the flashy, not like having a Rolls Royce and whatever, but his success was having the things that he thought you should have at a certain point in life, right? So my thing was, when I was younger, as a young adult, man, I fucking busted my ass, killed myself, damn near, just to make the money and get established. Bought our first house when we were like 23, 24 years old, right? And had it blah 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 blah. And then once I got to the point, or once I got to there and had at least some of that, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm over here killing myself, and he doesn't give a shit.
Right.
And, to be honest, nobody else gives a shit.
Right.
Right? I don't mean nobody gives a shit like they don't care about me, but it's
Sure.
like, okay, so you got a house when you were 24.
Right.
Okay, well, okay, good for you, whatever. But nobody gives a shit.
Right.
So it took me a while that point to assess things, to say, okay, what is it for me? What do I want? And or what does my family want?
Right.
Or need?
Right.
That's when I have to reassess the direction I'm going and says, does it meet all those needs?
Right. And see, that's the other thing too with going back to success is in the era that we grew up in, the thing of it is that the all-American perfect family had a house, had a car, had the kids, had the white picket fence. And I think that was instilled in us.
Yeah.
And that's kind of possibly where that had came from, is that's what we were drilled upon as to, that's what success is in America. That's the American dream. Piggyback on what you have, awareness is good. And the thing of it is like, I wasn't in the military, you were. So you set that, this is what we need to accomplish. And as you go, you have the awareness and you have the drive, but you see what's going on, and wait a minute, so I need to get here, but my plan was here, so maybe I have to go this way in order to get there.
Yep.
And I think, again, going back to why certain things don't work out is because, well, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So I think that's some of it as well.
Yeah, they say in the military, like, a plane is only good until the until was it your first engagement with the enemy?
Exactly. Then everything changes.
Everything changes.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be there. You guys are supposed to go over that way. So, yeah, I mean, again, this is something that we could go on for days on. So that was our take on, what does it take for men to succeed? And kind of going off of that is what drives men to succeed. Now, one of the things that I had grabbed from you, which I 100% agree with, is time or lack thereof. There's been a lot of research on people that are dying, that are, in hospice and things like that. And they're aware. I mean, they can fully function. And they ask them, like, what is the one thing that you wish you did while you were alive? And a lot of it is time. We waste a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be the first one to admit, yeah, I do. I've got stuff that you and I have worked on that you keep telling me you got to get that shit done. And, again, it's there, but my time management sucks. I'm tired when I get home. I talk to people all day. Like, mentally, I am just, like, done.
Right.
That's the ADHD part, which sucks. But with that being said, all right. Oh, this is a funny video. Oh, this is another funny video. I gotta send Gary this video. This is hilarious. But that's what I tie myself up in. And it's like, oh, it's the algorithm. No, it's you.
Yeah.
You can't, you gotta separate.
But then what happens when it's bedtime and you're like,
damn it.
Shit.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. And I think there's, and there's times when you have to, like, there's mentally, and I get it. And yeah, there's times when mentally you're just like, I don't even want to, I can't even think. I
Right.
can't, my brain is just mush.
Right.
All right. And it's okay to take that time off or say, okay, yeah, I had plans to do this tonight and whatever, but I'm just, because the thing about it is you'll sit down, especially if you're writing, like you're writing and everything, you'll get down and you get frustrated because it doesn't come because your brain's just,
Yep.
Then then all of a sudden you're pissed off because you're like, well, shit, because you're forcing the time.
Right.
But it's okay to kind of say, okay, you know what? I know whatever, but that has to be something that when you wake up in the morning, it's like, okay, yeah, okay, I put it off, and that's okay.
Right.
But regardless of what happens today, unless it's a freaking, complete disaster, like the tornado just takes your house gone and you got nothing.
Right.
Other than that, you say, okay, I'm setting it today, or, when I get home tonight, I'm going to have some dinner, spend some time with wife, whatever, but I got to get down and get 5 pages done or 10 pages done or whatever it is.
Right.
And I set that goal again. And then, that's kind of.
Well, then that goes to the point with the book report.
Well, it does. But so granted, exactly. But so then you kind of go to the thing. So now at this point, you're an adult.
Right.
So when do you, I guess, when do the things that you did when you were a kid that led to procrastination and everything else, when do you take that by the throat and say, you know what, son of a bitch? I don't know. It's different for everybody.
It's self-awareness. When we talk about awareness, what it takes for men to succeed is also awareness of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of those things, like, I do it all the time. I'm going to go downstairs and write. YouTube. Because I can't, like, it's myself, and it's also, the portion of the ADHD and autism and things like that. And it's like my brain, it's there. I want to do this, but then it's like, because I talk to people all day long. So physically, I'm running around and things like that. And like my body's tired. And unfortunately, arthritis is set itself in, which doesn't help me out at all.
Mm-hmm.
But being an ADHD brain, and again, I'm not using it as an excuse. It's part of the problem, which I need to change that problem, is the fact that, what is it called? I'm an introvert, believe it or not. I am probably one of the most introverted people you'll ever meet. So it takes a lot for me to talk to people, which I enjoy doing. I know it's strange as it sounds, but it's just like I have talked all day long.
Yeah.
And I am just done. And, the thing of it is with ADHD, the brain it's hard for the transitions. And with that being said, there's some days I'll get home, I'm like, I'm going to go up and get a shower, and I go up and get a shower. And then there's other days where I come in and I sit down on the couch and I'm like, damn, all right, I'm going to go get a shower. So it's that transition period. And knowing that is a big thing. And that it's not a crutch for me. It's not an excuse. Sometimes I use it as an excuse, but the thing of it is it's all about self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn what makes you tick.
Correct. And sometimes you need to assess things in a way. Let's say for instance, let's say the way your brain works, because ADHD, you're all over the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say going down to your office and sitting there and writing, maybe that doesn't work for your brain, right? Maybe let's stay up in the living room with, say your wife and the TV going,
right?
And you're sitting there with a notebook, and all of a sudden, the TV's kind of taking up certain things to where all of a sudden it's kind of almost kind of whatever, but all that's there and it's taking up whatever extra shit that the ADHD brain needs. And that takes it, and all of a sudden you're thinking, oh shit, and all of a sudden here it comes.
Right.
You start writing or whatever because you have all that. Because my brain, I don't know if I'm ADHD, but I have a chaotic brain, right? A lot of times, that's why I like the metal music, because everything in my brain is just so freaking. There's so much shit going in there, just fighting,
right,
battling each other. When I get that outside influence, focusing or almost leveling off the same thing in my brain, it just like, ooh. So like I've said, I can't, like I've told you before, I can't go and sit in front of a computer and start writing.
Right.
Doesn't come. And so a lot of the times, hopefully none of the people I work with or none of my bosses listen to me, but a lot of times when I write, I'm in a meeting at work and I'm writing like,
damn, that Gary takes some really good notes.
I do take a hell of a lot of notes, but there's a lot of, but it's stuff I've already been briefed on, and I understand, and I know everything and whatever. I'm not everything, but I know the subject and I know everything else. So, but there's all this stuff going on around me, but it's almost like my brain is like, okay, all this stuff's going on.
Right.
All of a sudden my brain kicks in, and all of a sudden these ideas start coming, and I start writing them. I'm not saying it's the same for you, but sometimes isolating yourself, or even going to something where some people need not isolation, but they need that quiet and stuff.
Right.
Doesn't work for me.
Right.
Maybe it doesn't work for you.
Right.
I don't know. To me, like self-awareness, when you get to that, is maybe trying different ways to do something and find out which way is the best for you that actually can get stuff done.
Right. And that's what I have to do. And that's actually a great idea, by the way. And the other thing, too, with the autism portion of it is I think in straight lines.
Okay.
And it's like a routine for me. I get up, I brush my teeth, take my pills, I go downstairs, I watch the news, I eat, drink my coffee, and then I go upstairs and I do what I got to do to get out of the house. It's the same thing every single day.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as like one thing changes, it's done. My whole day is done. If I'm late getting to work because of traffic or something like that, or piss poor time management, which I'm famous for, my day's gone. I feel like I'm behind like hours, even though it's 10 o'clock. I feel like my brain is on like 8 o'clock.
So it's kind of stress is like
Yes.
You're like, or anxiety. I probably said
Yes.
anxiety is like, oh shit,
Yes.
and stuff.
Yeah, and it's like, I have the intention I'm going to go down and write. Perfect. God bless, it's 9:30 already. Shit. I'm going upstairs to bed, and then I'll go read for an hour and a half. But God forbid if I take that hour and a half and go downstairs. But yeah.
Or even split the time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I can give you advice. I just don't follow it. Oh, yeah. Unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, what drives people to succeed. And just like we hit on time, betterment, to better yourself. I can wake up and go to the same job every single day, and I hate going into work, and it's going to be a shit show like it is every single day.
Yep.
And I'm going to be miserable every single day. And that's what you get, because that's what you expect. To betterment, hey, man, I don't want to be sitting behind a desk all the time. Maybe I want to do outside sales.
Maybe.
That type of thing. But you have to want to get better. The want to grow, I guess, could go into the betterment. You asked me to do a spreadsheet. I know what they are. I don't know how to do one. Can you teach me how to do one the way that you want it done? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That I want to learn, because I'm going to pick up from you. I'm
Right.
going to pick up from everybody else. I like the way this guy does that, but I don't like how he does this other thing. So I'm going to go to this guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's one of those things that you have to have that want to grow. Learning is another one. Reading a book. It doesn't matter. Like, if you talk to all the successful people, the billionaires in the world, one of the biggest things they do is they read. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be on how to make more money or anything like that, but just to read a book. It could be a science fiction book. It could be The Light Reapers.
Excellent book, by the way, if you haven't checked it out.
But, anything. And again, it's all about learning. You talked about before earning respect. Could be people that you hang out with, people that are at work. One of the things for me, and I'm sure it's for a lot of people too, is to be the go-to guy. That's my biggest thing. That's what I drive for.
Yeah.
I work in the jewelry business. I had no idea anything about jewelry. But in order for me to be able to repair something, I have to know how it's made.
Right.
So in order for me to know how something is done, helps me do better in helping someone else. And, for me, again, like, how do I use this? How do I get to this thing on the computer? And they come to me and they're like, hey, how do I do this? That's my drive. That's my wanting to be. What about you?
I like people to leave me the hell alone, really. It's like,
so you drive yourself away. That's your driving point.
I'm the same as you. Maybe not necessarily the go-to guy. Well, maybe so. So, for me to be able, as I'm a program manager, for me to be able to manage the program, I'm like you. I have to know all aspects of the program, right? I may not need to go 10 miles deep, but I got to go at least 10 miles wide or a mile wide, and I got to go a little bit deeper than an inch. Where you talk about that? Well, because they know, they're going a mile wide, but only an inch deep. They don't know this. Right. I got to go a mile wide, but I got to go at least a couple inches deep,
right,
to understand things. So I guess I don't necessarily do it so that I'm the go-to guy.
Mm-hmm.
I do it so I understand. However, being, I guess, one of the that's probably not the consequences, but one of the things about knowing that is that people do come to you for, say, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? Whatever. I left another job, 2 months ago, and my boss from that job is still hitting me up, asking, well, how did you do this? How did you do that? Even though I left,
right.
con ops or whatever you call it. That's what we call it, con ops. Just, it's kind of like an SOP on just how everything works and how everything's doing.
Right.
They'll still hit me up. Well, how did you get to do that? Or whatever. And it's not so much that it's the reason they're going to me because they know I know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not they give a shit about me
Right.
or whatever else, it's just the fact that if I hit Gary up, I know he'll be able to hit me. Well, number one, get to that respect. I know he'll help me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's the one. That's probably the same with Ed. I know if I hit up Ed, even though I don't know how to do something, if I hit Ed up, he'll help me. I know that.
Right.
All right. You could say that's because, pushovers or whatever. I like to look at it as respect that you know how to do things, regardless of what you need it for.
Sure.
All right. I don't give a shit what it is. Right? I'll help you out because that's kind of what because for my character, I have to help people because, unless you're a complete and utter asshole, and I know that, then I'm going to be like, kiss my ass.
Right.
So it's the respect of the fact I know I can go to Ed and I can get it, and I know he knows how to do it, or he'll help me, number one. Two, I know I can go to Ed or Gary because I know that they know how to do it and they'll help me get it done.
Right.
And then three, I would say the reason I go is because not only will they help me, not only do they know how to do it, but they know how to do it successfully to the point of whenever I get done with it, it's going to be, not successful, but I know it's going to be a product or
right.
something or what our process or whatever it is that's going to be that I can use.
Right.
That's not going to be like, oh, well, you did it that way. I don't even want that shit.
Sure.
I know it's going to be accepted to whatever. So that's kind of my thing is that. Yeah. Although I got a question for you. So we talk about all these things, time and this, that, and the other. Where do you put comfort in these aspects, or in these what drives?
That's interesting.
And I'm gonna let me kind of phrase it to you this way, and then I want your answer kind of answer. So, let's just say, like you were talking about before. Okay, I go to a job and I hate this job, and I go to it every day, whatever. Okay. Now, I could go look for another job or this, or the other, whatever else, right? And this might go into the introvert. This might go into whatever. But I like to use the word comfort. I hate that job and everything, but I'm comfortable in the sense of I know what to do. I know how to do it. I know everybody there. Okay. So let me ask you that question. How does comfort, how does that dovetail into any of that to where does it sacrifice, or does it does it sacrifice your drive because you're comfortable there? You know what I'm saying?
No, I
it's
gotcha.
just yeah.
That's
So
a good question. So for me, I'm going to say no. It doesn't hinder my drive. The thing is, so okay, you get out of something what you put into it. So there was a point in time, and unfortunately, this was one of the greatest places I've ever worked at, and I lost it because it was my own fault. But I felt like my anxiety was through the roof, and every single day I went in, I'm like, God damn it, this is gonna be a shit day. I know it's gonna be so-and-so is gonna talk about me and this other stuff, and I'm gonna be ran around while everybody sits around and does nothing. And that's exactly what I got out of it. And even if that's not what happened, that was my perception.
right.
So, my drive in that position was I wanted to make sure that whatever I did was 100% perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I gave up is when the bottom dropped out. It's totally my fault. So now where I work at, there has been times in the past where I would come in and it's like this one person that just drives me bananas. And I would say to myself, in the morning as I'm driving to work, she's going to say something to me today and I'm going to go off. And eventually it happened.
Oh, there you go.
So not good. I was pissed at myself. I was beyond frustrated that I let this person do that. But then I just got to a point where I'm at now is the fact that, and I don't want to, if anybody that works with me hears this, I don't want to say this in a bad way, but I just don't give a shit. I don't care what this person's doing over there. Everybody knows that it's a problem, but it's a management problem. If management doesn't want to take care of it, it's not my problem. So I go on with my day. I go on with a positive attitude every single day. And I know, talking about comfort, yes, I'm comfortable there. I know what's going on, and I know exactly what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the thing for my job. But the fact that my comfort comes in that job.
Right. So does that prevent you from saying, okay, so does it skew your assessment? So I'm in this job or whatever. Okay. I know that it's not the best job I could get, or not the best job or whatever. Okay. And everything, but I'm comfortable because I know it. So therefore, the comfort of being here, even though it's shitty,
right?
I know it. I'm familiar with it. So does that sometimes take over the drive or whatever to say, you know what, I really need to go look for another job because I know I can do better, or I can find something that's better.
Sure.
But the anxiety or the fear of the unknown, because let's be honest, I could find a better job, pays better, whatever. It could be just as much of a shit show, right? But does that hinder people from either finishing a project or, because let's say let's go project wise, all right? So I got this phase of the project, I'm comfortable, I know what I'm doing and whatever, and everything's cool. I go to the next phase. Okay, that's where shit kind of gets to where I'm not totally aware, or I'm not I'm not comfortable with all this aspect. So therefore, I'm going to kind of not sabotage it, but I'm going to slow roll because I'm comfortable with this. So whether that's in a project, whether that's say in a specific job, or in a specific or before or starting something new.
Sure.
You're like, well, I'm comfortable doing this. That, whatever. So comfort, how do you think that fits into?
That's a good question. For comfort,
or familiarity, or
sure.
Whichever you want to use.
So, I mean, there's a couple different ways to look at this. One of the sayings that you hear, especially when it comes to leaving a job, is the fact that, grass isn't always greener on the other side. That's right, because I haven't been over there yet to fertilize it.
It's true.
So that's one thing. I have my own drive, and, obviously being in jewelry, things like that, we have budgets that we have to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Before, I've never really been a budget guy. To me, it's more important for me to make a connection with a customer. But, lately, as the past like 2 months, I've been paying more attention to the budgets, to the sales goals.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is when I look at like a budget or something that you have to do this, I look at it now as the fact that, well, that's your minimum expectation, right?
Right.
The speed limit is 55. That's the law. That's the minimum expectation.
Yep.
Some people drive faster, some people drive slower. But as far as I'm concerned, 55 is the minimum expectation. So I look at a sales goal as, again, it's a minimum. I want to do better than that.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could be a clock puncher and, oh, shit, I got to do 18,000. 13 is good enough. That type of thing. My drive at work is to be better. There's tons of stuff that I don't know. But people that work with me, especially the management, knows that if I don't know something, I will be an expert in it. So that's my drive. Comfort, as far as being there, mentally, it's the best thing for me. I don't get paid a ton of money, but mentally I'm happy. So comfort in the job, yes. Does the comfort make me not want to search somewhere else and start new? No. And the reason why is, well, there's two reasons. One, I'm old. I'm 53. I'll be 54 this year. And, unfortunately, we're getting to a point that for a 54-year-old person, you can't just hop, skip, and jump to other jobs.
Yep.
Like back in the 80s, I could quit a job on Friday, and by Wednesday, I'm working somewhere else. It doesn't happen that way anymore. So that would be one of the biggest reasons as to why I wouldn't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But comfort level, as far as my mentality goes, that's what keeps me there.
Right.
That's my biggest reason for being there. Because I left and I came back, and I left again and I came back, and I never found the camaraderie or the mental comfort that I have there in any other job.
And so that in itself is still can be success in the aspect to say, okay, I know that there's certain aspects to me as a person and how I work that I have to have just mentally, because that's just the way it fucking is, right? So you could say, okay, it's not the best job, but I'm comfortable. But in that comfort occupies a certain part of me, right? So that part I'm good with. Now I can look at, like you said, I can now look at being successful in every aspect of this job or where I'm at.
Right.
And I could be one of the best that's there. That to me is also success. Because also being self-awareness is also knowing I have to be in a certain environment or whatever it is for me to function.
Right.
Right. And if I'm out of that, then so much of it is just fighting to stay, is fighting to stay, not comfortable is not the right word, but just being able to function and to marinate in this environment enough to be successful in it.
Right.
Right. And to move forward. But I have so much shit that I'm trying to deal with just being here, then it's not productive.
Right. And that's mentally, that's the time when, and unfortunately we all don't have a situation that we can leave something, but now looking at things differently, my mental health is the most important thing.
Yep.
I'll be more stressed trying to find another job, but when I have to sit and this was always my motto is when I pull up in the parking lot to a job, no matter where it is, what I do, if I have to sit in the car and fight to want to go into the building that day, then this is not where I want to be at.
That's That's not it. And I think that's where people need, I think, like you say, like awareness to me is huge in somebody that needs to be able to assess themselves and know that that's part of it. Maybe it's the environment, maybe it's the people, maybe it's the actual field in which they're working.
Right.
Right. And if you don't, like you said, okay, I don't like, my job, I don't really like my job that much. I mean, it's not what I want to do with my life, and it's not what I want to do for the rest. But we're at a certain point, whereas age, expertise, it's not like you'll go leave that and go into farming. I don't know.
Right.
Or you know what I mean. So it gets to that point, but I know what I'm doing.
Right.
Right. Now, again, I can succeed in that. Like, I change jobs here and there, but it's all kind of in the same environment. I work for the same customer, and I won't say what it is. There's a bunch of different. The customer's huge, and there's a bunch of different, places in there, and kind of different job, whatever. But I'm there because I know what I'm doing, and I know the business. I know the people in the business, right? I could go to work somewhere else, possibly, but I'm my thing is success is now that I'm older. My success, what I consider, is being the best. Maybe not the best, but knowing all the shit, so therefore I can do that. I bring value to what I'm doing or
Right.
to who I'm working for and this and the other. Just give them my check every damn 2 months, every 2 weeks. I don't need a title and all this other shit. If I'm providing value to you, and you are pleased that the fact that you hired me and I'm doing that, that to me is success. And for me to do that is like the same as you.
Right.
I need to know everything that's going on and be at least, what do you call it? Competent in
Right.
it. Well, maybe a little bit more incompetent.
Right.
I'm not going. What they say, C's get degrees.
Right.
Yeah, I'm at least got to do a B, if not an A.
Sure.
Right. But
Sure. And with that being said, too, is again, in the business that I'm at, I don't make a lot of money per hour, and it's not about the money for me anymore. It's I just want to hear every once in a while. It doesn't have to be every single day, but you know what? What you just did was amazing. That to me that's what I get. Hey, if you want to give me $100 as a bonus, whatever, hey, that's great. Thank you. But I personally would rather hear, dude, that was amazing.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I'd rather have the money. And not that I'm money driven.
No.
But to me, and again, this is not.
But some people are.
This is not. I'm not banging on you, but I'd rather just like. Okay, I'm not saying I don't like hearing that, but it's like, bruh. Okay, and if it's like you and they're meeting Ed and they're talking right directly to Ed, said, Ed, that was great, all right. But if they come to me and say, Gary, that was great, and Ed, that was great, and blah blah, was great, and you guys didn't do shit,
right?
And I busted and unfortunately, getting a little skewed because that's happened quite a bit, especially where I work.
Right.
It's all about kind of, but to me, now that accolade you just gave me doesn't mean shit because you gave it to these other guys and they didn't do a fucking thing. Now it comes down to one or two things: either you don't care, or you're not aware.
Right.
Either or. Just keep that to your shit to yourself. Or I'm kind of a little bit more like take it and shove it up your ass.
Right.
Now, if I got a couple $100 bonus, that to me is like good. Not because of the money, it's because that is an individual thing that comes in. Now, if they got it too, I don't give a shit.
Right.
Because it's in my bank account and I'm cool with that. But it's been just so many times where I've had that, and it's just like, somebody brings you, they give you they might give you this little award kind of things or whatever, which
right.
I don't really care about. But anyway, but you do it on a project stuff, and all of a sudden here comes 5 other people. Oh yeah, I got that. And I'm like,
yeah, what the hell did you do?
But you didn't do shit.
Yeah. Now
right? I'm not saying
that
that's
bothers
all,
me.
I'm not saying that's every situation.
Sure, no.
But there's been so many where I'm just like, no, just give me the freaking check, give me a bonus,
right.
or whatever. I could give a shit what you think.
Right. You're the type of guy that I don't need my name on an office. I don't need to have a title. Just pay me.
Just pay me.
Just pay me.
That to me shows me that you appreciate.
Right. And that is another thing too.
And it's not about the money. It's just like that to me is something that I don't know. Well, it's not that I respect the money, but it's something that it has value to me, at least in some way, whether that's paying for my kids' college or whatever, that you could give me that says, okay, I did a good job.
Well, that's like actions,
talk
not words.
Yeah, talk is cheap.
Yeah,
talk don't cost you shit.
The action is the fact that you got a bonus or you got a bump in pay. Mm-hmm. Words are one thing.
Yeah, I don't really give it. Now let me take that back. Now, when we're talking about the whole thing about respect,
right?
If I respect the person that it's coming from, that's a whole different story.
Gotcha.
That's a whole different story. If it's just some knucklehead manager that doesn't manage and I do not respect,
right,
and doesn't handle their business, and they come to me and say, "Hey, that was a good job," doesn't mean shit to me.
Right.
Doesn't mean matter of fact, I'm more pissed off the fact that you said that than if you would have said nothing at all. That's just me because I got issues, man. I do. But it's like, I know that you don't mean it, and I know it doesn't mean shit coming from you because you just told 50 other people the same thing.
Right. So it doesn't carry the same weight.
It doesn't carry. Or you would not even know what a good job was.
Right.
Because you're so far out of the freaking bubble. It's like, man, just
Right.
shut the fuck up. I mean, that's kind of I wouldn't say that to them.
Right.
But inside, I'm like, man, just shut up. But no, if it's somebody that there's been a couple managers. Well, there's been more than a couple. There's been some managers that we are in the, not even the military. I'm just talking about in the business that we've been in the trenches, man. We busted our ass, and we got it together along with this team. And they said, guys, that's a really good. That was a really good job. I appreciate it. Stuff. I don't need any money from you.
Right.
All right. The fact that you were right there with us. I respect what you're saying. You say that to me. That is all I need.
Right.
And I'm good.
Yep.
And I'll take that.
Right. And, the other thing, too, is with respect, I was into the restoration business, fire and water, things like that for years. And that was an interesting niche to get into.
Good, bad, and different?
Yeah, all of the above.
No.
But, one of the things that I would do, which the owners of the company, I don't understand why, but they didn't like when I would do it, is I would go out to my jobs. I would schedule jobs. I would go out to the jobs because I want to see what's going on. Right?
Yeah.
And when I'm out there, I'm helping.
Yeah.
So I remember we had it was a fire that happened in it was a very popular Mexican restaurant in Baltimore City.
Mm-hmm.
And walls needed to come down and everything. And these guys all did jobs all day long. And then it was like oh shit, all hands on deck. So I went out there because my team needed to go out there.
Yeah.
So I'm out there and some of the guys are standing around, like sweat is just pulling off of them and they're just standing there. So some of the managers that I worked with would be, oh, okay, so I see that you're standing around doing nothing. Well, judging by the amount of sweat and everything that's on these guys, I know that they just were busting their ass and they're taking a break.
Probably drywall dust all over
absolutely.
them.
It was
just caked
horrible.
on. Yeah.
Horrible. So in this particular instance, what I did was I'm looking and there's this big ass wall. And I'm like, hey guys, just out of curiosity, does this wall have to come down? And they're like, yeah, we'll get to it. I'm like, okay. I know you guys have busted your ass all day. I can see that.
Yeah.
You're fine. In fact, you know what? I went in my own wallet and I pulled out cash, my cash. And I was like, here, go get something to drink. There's a little 7-Eleven place right beside it. Okay. I could see the head starting to shake. And I said, this wall needs to come down, right? Yeah. No gloves. Got my manager shirt on and all the other shit. And I started punching the wall to break all the stuff off. And that's how I would clear a wall, is I would just punch the wall to put a hole in, and then I'm pulling off the drywall. And the guys were looking, and I could see them like, dude, no, what are you doing? I said, I'm helping you guys with this wall. No, we got it. I said, I know you guys got it. I told you take a break. And I went out and I started back again at that wall. Well, the next thing I know, here's all these guys that are beside me pulling this freaking wall down. They're bagging and doing everything. And it got done so fast. And they were like, why did you do that? I was like, well, why not? I'm here.
Needed to come down, didn't it?
Yeah, I'm here, and I'm not going to stand around and do paperwork and shit like that. Frankly, that's your job. So who's doing the paperwork? Handle the paperwork. What else needs to come down? And we did it. But that's the thing. It's just like you were saying, when you're in the trenches, for someone to earn respect, because these guys, half of them didn't know who I was. I was kind of new to the bit, new to that company. And it was just like right then and there. In the morning, next morning I came in. They're all like, hey, what's going on, man? It was like just a completely different thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see where you're talking about as managers go is, I agree. You know, if you came from like what you do, like IT or whatever, and you've been in the shit, and you were that guy, I have respect for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but for some person just to be like, you're in charge.
Yeah,
I don't have respect for that.
and unfortunately, that kind of how it works. In
It
my
happens
business.
a lot.
Yeah, they do it. So the other managers, did they have a problem with it? Because I'd be like, you know what? Hey, my crew, I manage them the way the fuck I want to manage them.
Right.
All right, I get shit done. All right, paperwork gets done, the work gets done, everything else gets done. What's the problem?
Right.
Now, is it a safety issue? Is it the fact that I need to take certain training because that's what I need to do to take this wall? It's like, well, no, just whatever.
Right.
I'll be like, shut the fuck up and let me manage my crew.
Right. And the thing that they didn't like is the fact that because I didn't sit at my desk. I didn't
Doing what?
Right. Well, that was my thing is like, hey, my people are out. I might have 3 or 4 jobs going on. So I'm going out there. I want to see, I want hands on so I can see what the hell's going on. Now, there would be some jobs with some crews that I didn't have to go out there, but I would still go out there and just say hi and things like that. But then there were other crews that I needed to go out there. But the problem with the the owners were the fact that I should be letting them do their thing. Well, I run this division. I have my managers that I trust to do their thing. And it's not the fact that I was a micromanager. I wasn't. I just want to see what's going on. That's all. And if there was a way, like, you know, because a lot of times when they would schedule the job, it's going to take at least 5 days, this amount of boxes, this amount of manpower, storage, blah, blah, blah. I could tell you all of that because I've been through it. But if I would go and, you know, I would get there late in the day and they're like, oh, man, we're going to be another day out here. I'm like, the fuck you are. Let's get this shit done. And we would get it done. I would help. I wouldn't just say, all right, well, you guys got to get it done today and make sure you're back by whatever time. So, but that's the thing. It's leadership. It's about that respect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that, you know, for you want to talk about what drives people to succeed. I think a lot of it is respect.
Well, there's some people that don't or mix manager with leadership.
Right.
Now, every manager is not a leader.
Right.
But every leader should be able to manage.
Exactly.
And that's unfortunately where we have a lot of managers.
Right.
Quote unquote managers in title.
Right.
But they're not leaders.
No.
They couldn't lead the way of a paper bag.
No. And the sad part is it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, well, it's getting worse. So I'm like, yeah.
So I guess, you know, we've been looking at what drives people, things like that. So let's look at some of the reasons as to why men fail. The biggest thing and the first thing on my list is fear. Fear.
Fear what?
Fear of
Failure?
losing. Fear of failure.
Failure to begin with?
Exactly. And that was, so one of the things that I had to overcome was my mom was the type of person that, hey, I'm going to go out and play football for high school. No, you're not. Why? Because you're going to get hurt.
So?
Okay. Well, I could walk across the street and get hit by a car.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the things that my mom like hammered into me growing up is, no, you're going to get hurt. No, you're going to get hurt. No, don't do that. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And that built into me. So that was one of the biggest things. And I, you know, it's funny. I was thinking about this morning is I look back at job offers and things like that I had when she was alive. And my mom worked at Social Security, like from the point that she graduated all the way to the time of her passing. So she only had one job. And, you know, her dedication to the job and things like that is, you know, I'm never going to go anywhere. So once you get a place, you don't go anywhere, which I worked at a really big company in home electronics. Well, they went out of business because of piss poor management. But, you know, that was the thing is when I was there, I was running a store and I got offered to run a bank, like brand new bank. We're going to run it and we want you. Like, Ma, what do you think? No, you can't do that. So I didn't do it.
Mm.
I had an opportunity to work at Home Depot as a manager. What do you think? No. No. You got to stay where you're at. And I that was one of the things that mentally was bored into my head. And that's one of the things that I have slowly started to get over is the fear. You know, I'm an introvert. I had a problem talking to people. I was in sales. Well, guess what? Go talk to people.
I was going to say, you will be a manager at Home Depot and
Yeah.
all this shit, or bank.
Yeah.
Like, shit, yeah, you better learn how to talk to people.
Right. And that was the thing. And I was a manager at the time. Actually, I was a general manager of the store. But that was the thing is, like, you know, I had to have Saturday morning meetings. You know, like, this is where we are, blah, blah, blah. How do you, you're uncomfortable doing something. Well, guess what? Make yourself uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of things, like when it comes to, we were talking about jobs, things like that. That's one of the things why people don't leave. Men don't leave because this is what I know. This is what I'm going to do.
It's comfort.
Yeah, it's comfort, and it's that fear.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other things is, you know, we touched on friends. Well, hanging out with the wrong crowd. You have a drug addict that gets arrested, spends time in jail, has to go through a program, and yet they come back and they hang out with the same people that they did when they got in trouble. What do you think's going to happen? Same shit. We talk about success. You touched on this earlier. I want to hang out with people that are like-minded and that have the same ambition or the ambition that I want.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I want to surround myself by. And that's where we get into that, you know, our circles. My circle's small. I think if I said 5, I might be overshooting.
Yeah. No, it's small.
Yeah, it's small.
And I think small is the easiest to maintain for those that are what I consider true friends that are there for you when you need them and that you could be there for and stuff like that.
Right.
Not just, hey, you know, we'll go hang out. Yeah, we can do that. I mean, that's fine, but that's not.
Right. That's not a friend.
But yeah.
My thing, I look at people, what I consider as a friend is I can call somebody at 3:00 in the morning and be like, dude, I need a shovel, I need black trash bags, and I need some duct tape. And the response should be,
how about with some bleach too?
yeah, where am I meeting you?
I'm throwing bleach in the back too.
Right. Where am I meeting you?
Right.
That's the type of friend that I am. And my inner circle, those are the people that would do that.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that they would turn me in, you know, for doing that.
Well, you know what? Let's just get it done.
Right.
And then we'll see the circumstances later.
Oh, yeah. I buried her. She's right there. Wasn't me, though. I just
Well,
showed up.
I was just like, you know, I had my kids were going. My son was taking my daughter up to Johns Hopkins. I couldn't get off work to go, so I called Ed and Christy and said, hey, my kids are going up there. If something happens, like something, I don't know, there's an accident or something.
Right.
I called him and said, hey, will you be available? It's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I made sure they had y'all's number, and that I felt better knowing that they were up there, and that if shit hit the fan for whatever that may be,
You always got a place to
it's
go.
going to take me, you know, my whatever. Then I was like, no,
Yeah.
Ed and Christy will take care of them,
Absolutely.
and then we'll figure it on the back end or whatever
Right.
else. Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing, and it's not a tit for tat. You know, hey, I did this for you, so
I've had
yeah.
quote unquote friends like that.
Got to cut them out, man. It's like a cancer. One of the biggest things is negativity. You know, like I was saying, is if I go into work every single day with a positive attitude, when I went into work with a negative attitude, that's when shit went wrong. But that's what I was setting myself up for.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is bad choices, parents included. You know, if your dad's an alcoholic and, you know, beat you and all this other shit, 9 times out of 10, a man is going to continue doing that. And even with a woman sometimes too. But that is a cycle, you know. And like I was saying with parents, is my mom telling me, no, you're going to get hurt. Well, that didn't help out either. So one of the things too is that settling. They're comfortable, just like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too that I don't know if we touched on or not was awareness.
Yeah, we did.
Situation awareness. Well, the exception of their current situation. This is the best I can do. This is what I got. This is what I got to work with. So,
yeah. There's a point to not settling, but there's a point to being somewhere because there's, like we talked about, there, whether that's a mental capacity, mental thing or whatever that will allow you to be successful in there. That this is where I need to be because it fills that gap,
right?
As opposed to I'm just going to be here, whatever, and then you make that situation where you are or whatever, just you make it shit,
right? Oh, even better in that situation is the victim card.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me started on that shit.
Yeah. That's the victim card. And I think that's another one, too, is that, again, you get out of life what you put into it. So there comes a point in time where this happens to you, this happens to you, that happens to you, this continues to happen to you. Well, let's look at the thing that's in the center, and that's you.
What's the lowest common denominator?
Right.
Or the thing about it is you could just say, life sucks, and you give up. Like,
right.
You don't fight. Okay, that's what I tell people. Like, it's like, okay, well, this and it. I was like, okay, then what's the alternative?
Right.
You can either fight and continue to move forward, or you can just settle it. And then what happens?
Right. You're going to end up in your deathbed, and you're going to wish that you used your time more wisely when you had it.
And you're going to get, and you might be in here, and you might just marinate in this pile of shit and get manipulated and this and that because you're allowing the world to dictate
what you're going to do and
what you're going to do.
And the best thing is those are the people that bitch the loudest.
Yep.
Oh, my life sucks, blah blah blah. You can change it. It's going to be uncomfortable.
I don't understand why some people, like I see on like every once in a while I watch Judge Judy all the time, and they got people that are living in California. I'm going to pick on California. And the prices are through the freaking roof. Mm-hmm. Okay, I understand California's nice and whatever, but if you can't make it,
move.
Right. There's plenty of other places that are fine. No, you want to wallow in self misery, go rent a room, and I'm not saying that's bad, but if you
got to do what you got to do.
If you're moving up and if you're trying to get successful,
right,
and the only thing you're doing is renting a room in somebody's house,
right.
Fuck that.
Yeah, move somewhere else.
That's what I'm saying. Go to whatever. But it's just like, nah. I'm just gonna, guess this is whatever. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we could go on for days. But yeah, I mean I think the thing of it is the key to success for any human being is the fact that you got to know yourself.
Yeah.
Know your limitations. Push yourself. If something makes you uncomfortable, well, guess what? Get uncomfortable.
Well, we can't do that because now it's about sensitivity. Well, we're actually coming out of it, but for the longest time it's been no. You can't say anything to offend me. I can't be in a situation that makes me feel uncomfortable. Blah blah blah. But it's like, welcome to reality.
Yep.
And that's what I consider myself as a realist. I'm a realist, but I'm a positive realist. It's like I don't know if it was us talking or whatever the other day. Maybe I was talking to somebody else. I don't know. I think it was somebody else, and they were talking about how a pessimist says the glass half empty. What's the other one?
Or half full.
Yeah. What's the other?
Optimist.
Optimist says the glass is half full. I'm a realist. What I say is the glass is half full because there's half of it's gone.
Right.
However, we're gonna fill it. It's gonna be okay.
Right.
I could see the glass as being half full because it's half of the shit is gone.
Right.
I'm realistic in that. It's not a pessimist. I said, yeah, the glass half empty, but that's okay.
Right.
Because we're going to fill it.
That's right.
Just hold on. It's going to be fine because we're going to fill it back up.
Right.
And that to me is what a realist is. It's like I'm not saying, oh shit, we're fucked because it's half empty. Well, no, half of it's gone. That's fine.
Yeah.
It is. Let's be realistic about it. Let's compare apples to apples. But it's gonna be okay. We're gonna fill it back up.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if anybody has ever answered that on a test. Are you an optimist? Is it half full or is it half empty?
I'm a realist.
Yeah.
It's half empty because there's half of it's gone. But
Option A, option B, or you can write in C.
Yeah.
Put that on your Scantron.
Put it on it, man.
Very cool.
The thing about it is, being this last thing is like success and stuff, and even getting to where you want to go, and whatever. To me, the one of the biggest things is assessment, understanding where it is you want to go, and understanding how to get there, right? And setting goals, realistic goals, not dreams.
Yeah, get a plan.
Get a plan, and constantly assess it as you're going, because you may find out that plan or that path or that road maybe isn't what you thought it was.
Right.
But you can still take success from what you've done and then apply that to something else.
Absolutely.
Rather than just shit the bed and just say, oh, victim, I went here and I got screwed and this, that, and the other, and it's all good. No, you've learned something from that journey.
Right.
Whatever it is.
Right.
Apply it to something else. Or apply it to the fact of, okay, now I'm not gonna fall in those same potholes when I go and do this.
Right.
But it's always something useful to do, or there's always something useful you can get out of it.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm saying. Just don't throw your hands up and say, F it, I'm screwed. Life sucks. Who cares?
Right. No, I agree.
Then the world's going to give you what you want.
Right. So that's the biggest thing. We went like way over our time, but that's okay.
Yep.
Because we're just chatting.
And we can do what we want.
That's right.
That's success.
That's
Doing
right.
what you want.
That's right. All right, everybody.
Shit.
Well, thank you for joining us. And for those of you that will hopefully listen to this later, thank you for listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So 2 weeks from now, I think.
Are we actually doing it on Father's Day?
Yeah, it'll be on Father's Day.
And nobody gives a shit about fathers. Maybe we could talk about how nobody gives a shit about fathers. I don't know how Father's Day.
Dad sucks.
I mean, it's not that nobody cares, but I mean, maybe we could talk about how society kind of looks at fathers and it's just like, whatever,
or lack thereof,
Yeah, I mean, because people just don't give a shit about dads,
right,
anymore.
Oh, that's not true.
No, that's we oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So
ask a father.
Maybe we should talk about it and talk about what we think the father's role is.
That's right. All right.
I might offend some people in there. Like, what do you say this like? No, it's
if you don't like what we say, turn it off.
Yeah, turn it off.
Well, all right, everybody. Thank you so much. We appreciate people listening.
Mm-hmm.
Like us, follow us, pound the subscribe button down here. If you have any comments, anything that you would like to add, any future topics that you would like for us to chit-chat about, please feel free to let us know. Thank you to all the firefighters, all the military, all the police officers. Thank you so much for what you do. Veterans, thank you for the sacrifices that you have made for this country.
Yep.
Until next time, we'll see you.
We're out. Peace. Let me find my button.
I'll push your button, you best.
Here's your button. Oh, where's it?
You're on the wrong side.
I'm on the outro. Yeah, we switched it up.
Oh.
See ya.
See ya.